I am Sheikh Rashidul Rahman, Assistant Professor, Department of Electrical and Electronic Engineering, University of Asia Pacific. So today I am going to deliver a lecture about per unit calculation. So this is a very interesting topic in power system analysis course. Per unit calculation is little bit of converting unit from one to another. Like if I want to give an example, that is, we know the unit of voltage is equal to volt, and the unit of current is equal to, that is, ampere. So if we want to calculate the value of like resistance, then the equation should be V divided by I. So the unit is volt divided by ampere. So that is ohm. So the every quantity has different unit. Like if we want to calculate power, so we know power is equal to voltage into current. So voltage into current, and the unit should be volt ampere, or that is watt. So every quantity has different unit. Voltage has unit volt, current has unit ampere, and resistance has unit ohm, power watt. Every quantity has different unit. So per unit calculation means we have to convert the unit of all quantity to a single unit, that is the same unit. So per unit means the current unit, so the unit of current actually should be the same as the unit of voltage, should be the same as the unit of power. This should be the same unit. Like there should be the same of unit of resistance. So per unit means the unit of each quantity has a same unit, and that is called per unit. So how we can convert the unit to a different unit, and this unit should be same for all other quantity. So that is the conception of per unit calculation. So per unit calculation means we have to convert the unit of voltage in a different unit, and that unit should be the same for unit of current, and that unit should be the same for unit of resistance and power also. So all of quantity unit should be the same, and this unit is called per unit, and it's, that is, pu. So this unit is called per unit. So per unit is a different unit which is same for all other quantity. So how we can replace a unit of a quantity to a per unit? So for an example, we have a value of current is equal to 5 ampere, and we have a value of voltage is equal to 10 volt. Now we have to convert this ampere to per unit, and again And again, we have to convert this volt to per unit. So how we can convert the ampere unit to per unit, and how we can convert the voltage unit to per unit? So the another meaning of per unit is unit less quantity. So per unit means actually unit less quantity. So if there is no unit for resistance and there is no unit for power, there is no unit for current, it means that the unit of current, unit of voltage, unit of power, unit of resistance are all same. So per unit means to replace a quantity in a unit less quantity. So that is the conception of per unit. So how we can convert the ampere to a unit less quantity? How we can convert this? So this is very simple actually. If we divided this value, that is 5 ampere divided by 5 ampere, then that is the 5 ampere and is divided by 5 ampere, then the value should be 1. So that is a unit less quantity, because ampere should be eliminated and the final result is 1. So this one is called per unit. So it's mean that the unit less quantity. So the conception of per unit is to convert a quantity to a unit less quantity. So that is the conception of per unit. So now the voltage is 10 volt. So if we just convert this 10 volt divided by 5 volt, then the answer should be 2 per unit. So it means that we convert the voltage of a volt unit to a unit less quantity, that is per unit. So now the current is equal to 1 per unit and the voltage is equal to 2 per unit. So the unit of current and the unit of voltage now the same unit, that is the per unit or PU. So this is the conception of per unit, and this is the process how we convert a unit quantity to a unit less quantity. And we can, if we now want to calculate the value of resistance by using this quantity, then the value of voltage is 2 per unit and the value of current is 1 per unit. So the value of resistance should be 2 per unit. So the value of resistance is 2 per unit. So now this is the conception of per unit, to replace a unit quantity to a unit less quantity. Now if we say that the value of resistance is 2 per unit, then we will not understand this quantity is how much. It means that this 2 per unit means the resistance is 2 kilo ohm, or the resistance is 2 ohm or 2 mega ohm. We actually don't know the actual value of resistance by using this per unit value. Like if we say that the value of voltage is 2 per unit, then actual unit actually we don't know. So this 2 per unit, it can be 2 volt, it can be 2 kilovolt, or it can be 2 megavolt also. So if we want to find out the actual value of this resistance, or the actual value of this voltage, or the actual value of this current, then we have to multiply the per unit value with the reference value. So what is the reference value actually? So the reference value is the value, this value or the reference value, you should have just divide this value with your own quantity. So this is the reference value. So actually, if we want to see the equation of reference value or a per unit value, like is equal to the, well, like this actually. So if we want to say a definition of per unit, then the definition of per unit is the actual value in any unit is divided by the base or reference value in the same unit. So this is the definition of per unit actually. The actual value in any unit. So it means that if we want to convert a voltage value to a per unit value, then the actual value of the voltage we have to put here. So this is the actual value of voltage and divided by the base value or reference value in the same unit. It means that the base value in the voltage unit. So if we just take this equation in our mind, or if we just memorize this definition in your mind, then if we want to convert the current value to a per unit value, it means that the actual value of current, that is the 5 ampere, it should be divided by the base value of the same unit. It means that the base value is here 5 ampere. So now the per unit value of the current is 1 ampere. Similarly, for the voltage, here the actual value of the voltage is 10 volt, and we have to divide this value with our base value or reference value of the same unit. So the base value or reference value is 5 volt. So if we divided the actual value of voltage by the base value of the voltage, we will get the per unit value of the voltage. So these 5 volt or 5 ampere, or here these are called the base or reference value. Now if we want to convert this value to an actual value, it means that like actual value of voltage, it should be the actual value of voltage, it should be the per unit value into the base value or the reference value. So the per unit value of the voltage is 2. So this is the 2 per unit. So the per unit value is 2 and it should be multiplied with the base value. So base value of voltage is 5 volt. So whenever we multiply this with 5 volt, the answer should be the actual value of voltage, that is 10 volt. So this is the actual value of voltage 10 volt. So from per unit value, we can find out the actual value or original value of the voltage. So this is the conception of per unit calculation actually. So now why we convert this value to a per unit value, and again why you convert the per unit value to actual value. So the answer is there are many other advantages to convert the unit to a per unit, or to calculate different quantity in a same quantity. There are many advantages, and these advantages we will talk later actually. So in Bengali actually we want to say that পার ইউনিট ভ্যালুর কনসেপশন হচ্ছে যে আমরা যে কোনো কোয়ান্টিটিকে ইউনিট লেস কোয়ান্টিটিতে কনভার্ট করে ফেলব, এবং সেই ইউনিট লেস কোয়ান্টিটিটাই হবে পার ইউনিট। অর্থাৎ যখন তার কোনো ইউনিট থাকবে না তখন আমরা সেটাকে বলবো পার ইউনিট। তো যেমন রেজিস্ট্যান্সের ইউনিট ওহম, পাওয়ারের ইউনিট ওয়াট, কারেন্টের ইউনিট অ্যাম্পিয়ার। সো এদের সবাইকে যদি আমরা একটা সিঙ্গেল ইউনিটে কনভার্ট করে ফেলি সেটাই হবে পার ইউনিট। সো এদের সবাইকে সিঙ্গেল ইউনিটে কনভার্ট করার নিয়ম হচ্ছে যে এদের সবাইকে আমরা ইউনিট লেস কোয়ান্টিটিতে প্রকাশ করব। সো ইউনিট লেস কোয়ান্টিটিতে প্রকাশ করার একটা সহজ উপায় হচ্ছে যে কোয়ান্টিটিটাকে আমি ইউনিট লেস কোয়ান্টিটিতে প্রকাশ করতে চাই ওই কোয়ান্টিটিকে যদি আমি সেম কোয়ান্টিটিরই কোনো একটা মানে সেম ইউনিটের কোনো একটা বেস ভ্যালু দিয়ে ভাগ করে দিই, সেটা ইউনিট লেস হয়ে যাবে। যেমন অ্যাম্পিয়ারকে যদি আমি অ্যাম্পিয়ার দিয়ে ভাগ করি, সে পার ইউনিটে পড়ে যাবে। ভোল্টেজকে যদি ভোল্ট দিয়ে ভাগ করে দিই, পার ইউনিটে পেয়ে যাব। রেজিস্ট্যান্সকে যদি ওহম দিয়ে ভাগ করে দিই, পার ইউনিটে পেয়ে যাব। তো এখন এখানে ঘটনা হচ্ছে যে এই যে ভ্যালু দিয়ে আমরা ভাগ করব, এই ভ্যালুটাকে বলা হয় তার বেস ভ্যালু বা রেফারেন্স ভ্যালু। তো বেস ভ্যালু বা রেফারেন্স ভ্যালু আমরা তাহলে কিভাবে ধরবো? বেস ভ্যালু বা রেফারেন্স ভ্যালু আমাদের কোশ্চেনে দেওয়া থাকবে, দেন কোশ্চেন দেখে সেই বেস ভ্যালু বা রেফারেন্স ভ্যালু আমরা ধরবো, অথবা কোশ্চেনে এমন কিছু ভ্যালু দেওয়া থাকবে যেখান থেকে আমরা বেস ভ্যালু বা রেফারেন্স ভ্যালুটা বের করে নিব। এবং পার ইউনিট ক্যালকুলেশনে করার পরে যে ভ্যালুটা আমরা পার ইউনিটে পাবো, সেখান থেকে আমরা রিয়েল ইউনিটে কনভার্ট করতে পারবো। যদি যে কোনো কোয়ান্টিটির পার ইউনিট ভ্যালুকে ওই কোয়ান্টিটির বেস ভ্যালু দিয়ে মাল্টিপ্লাই করে দিই, তাহলে আমরা রিয়েল ইউনিট পেয়ে যাব। যেমন ভোল্টেজের পার ইউনিট ভ্যালু আমরা পেলাম এখানে 2 পার ইউনিট। সো এই 2 পার ইউনিট বা 2 পার ইউনিটকে বেস ভ্যালু ছিল 5 ভোল্ট। 5 ভোল্ট দিয়ে যদি মাল্টিপ্লাই করে দিই, তাহলে আমরা অ্যাকচুয়াল ভ্যালু 10 ভোল্ট পেয়ে যাব। সো এটা হচ্ছে যে কোনো কোয়ান্টিটি থেকে পার ইউনিটে কনভার্ট, এবং পার ইউনিট থেকে আমরা কিভাবে আবার অ্যাকচুয়াল কোয়ান্টিটিতে ফিরে যেতে পারি। তো এটার বেশ কিছু অ্যাডভান্টেজ আছে, যেটা আমরা আসলে একটু পরে ডিসকাস করব। So now the definition of per unit is the actual value in any unit that should be divided by the base value or reference value in the same unit. So for like single phase power system, so if this is a single phase power system, then the base volt ampere, it means that the power actually, so base power should be volt ampere, this is the unit, and this suffix b denote the base value. Base voltage is equal to vb, it means that the base value of voltage, so base power base voltage. Then the current should be I is equal to base power divided by base voltage, then this should be the base current. So we know P is equal to VI, so I is equal to P divided by V. So this is power P and this is the value of voltage B. So the impedance ZB should be voltage base divided by current base. It means that voltage base, if we put the value of current base, that is volt ampere by voltage, then that should be voltage base square divided by volt ampere base. So this is actually a symbolic conception. So if we want to convert or want to see this value in a numeric value, then how we can calculate this value? So this is very simple. Like we have to assume the base value of the quantity, or we or the base value should be given. Like if the base value of power, that is okay, so B should be the base. So this is the base value of power. So if the base value of power is equal to like 100 volt ampere, so this is the base value of power, and the voltage base is like 50 volt, so this is the base value of voltage. This is the base value of voltage. Now we have to calculate the per unit value of current, that is the IPU. We have to calculate the per unit value of current. So we have to calculate the per unit value of current. For this, the current value is also given, that is the real unit of current is 10 ampere. Now we have to calculate the per unit value of current. So in our question these values are given, that is the power base is 100 volt ampere, the voltage base is 50 volt, and the real unit of current is 10 ampere. Now we have to calculate the per unit value of current. So we know the per unit value of current should be the per unit value of current should be the real unit value of current, that is 10 ampere, that should be divided by the base value of current. So this is the equation actually. By the definition of per unit, this is the equation. So this is the equation, that is the per unit value of current, that should be real unit value of current divided by the base value of current. So the real unit value of current is 10 ampere. So you put the value here. Now the base value of current. So we have to calculate the base value of current. So what is the base value of current? The base value of current is not given in this question. There is no base value of current. So we have to calculate the base value of current. We have to calculate this. So how we can calculate this? So we know that is the base value of current should be IB. So IB is the base value of current. So if we want to calculate the base value of current, then that should be, so that should be what actually? Very simple equation. So if P is equal to VI, then I should be P divided by V. It means that power divided by voltage. Now if we want to calculate the current base, then this power should be the base value of power and this voltage should be the base value of voltage. So if we divided this base power divided by base voltage, we will get the base currents. So the base power is given in the question 100 volt ampere, and the base voltage is given, that is the 50 volt. So the base power is hot actually. Volt should be eliminated. So the base current is 2 ampere. So this is the base current, because this volt should be eliminated, ampere is on the left here. So 2 ampere is the base current. Now whenever we get the base current is 2 ampere, then we will calculate the per unit current, because now the per unit current should be 10 ampere divided by, this is the value of base, that is 2 ampere. So 2 ampere. So now ampere should be eliminated. The current per unit is 5 pu. So this is the per unit value of current, that is the 5 pu. So this is the answer, that is the IPU or per unit value of current, that should be 5 per unit. So this is the answer. Now if we want to convert this per unit value to real unit value, this is very simple. We have to multiply the per unit value to the base value. So the base value of current is 2 ampere. So if we multiply this 5 into 2, we will get the 10 ampere. This is the real unit value. So this is the way that how we can calculate the per unit quantity of any quantity like voltage, power, current. But at first we have to identify the base value or reference value. And this is the process of identification of base value or reference value. So this is the identification process actually. So in your mathematical question, there are some value should be given there. Like in this mathematical problem, so this is a small math, but in this mathematical problem, the base power and base voltage and the real unit of current are given. So now the question is find out the per unit current. So this is the solution procedure. So some value should be given to identify the base value of the unit which you have to calculate the per unit value. So now again, if we just go to our slide, then so the impedance is the same equation, that is the real value of impedance in ohm divided by the base value of impedance. So the base value, the equation of base value is the voltage base square divided by volt ampere base. So if we put the values here, then for a single circuit or a single phase circuit, the per unit value of impedance should be Z, or the real unit value of impedance, into the power base, that is the volt ampere means power, because the volt ampere is the unit of power, so into the power base divided by the voltage base square. So this is the voltage base square. So this is the equation to find out the per unit value of impedance. So this is the equation of to find out the per unit value of impedance. So if we want to see an example to find out the value of impedance, then maybe the conception should be better, or we got the clear conception if we see another example actually. So in this math actually, if we have to calculate the value of impedance or per unit value of impedance, and for this reason we know that the 10 ohm is the, so again actually we see the and another example actually. Maybe, okay, the another example. So for this reason, this is the value of impedance Z ohm. So this is the value of impedance. Now we have to convert this impedance value of a per unit value. So how we can convert this impedance value to per unit value? So we have to calculate ZPU. We have to calculate the ZPU or Z per unit. So how we can calculate this? So the equation is very simple. The real unit value of impedance, we have to divided this by the base value. So this is our equation. This is our simple equation. We have to uh, divided the real unit impedance to the base value. So the real unit value is 10 ohm. So we have to divided this 10 ohm by the base value. Now what is the base value actually? We have to calculate the base value. So to find out the base value, the equation should be, if equation should be P is equal to what? V into I. So here V is equal to Iz. So if we want to derive the equation, then P is equal to, that is P is equal to Vi, and I should be V by Z. So V square divided by Z. So that should be V square divided by Z. So now from here, if we want to find out the impedance, then should be what? So if we find out the value of impedance, then that should be voltage square divided by P, that is power. Well, it's going to another, voltage square divided by power. So this is the equation actually. So this is voltage square divided by power. So these should be the base value. So all these values should be the base value. So if this is the base value of impedance, then the voltage value should be the base value of voltage. Then the power should be the base value of power. So this is the equation. So VB square, or voltage base square, divided by power. So now the voltage base square is 50 volts. So this is the voltage base, 50 volt. So we have to write, so that is 50 T square divided by, so the power base is 100. So 50 square divided by 100. So if we square the value, it means that if we write down this in unit format, then that should be the voltage, mean volt square divided by power. So power should be volt ampere. So this is the unit actually. So if we write down this in a unit format, then this should be the voltage square divided by power. So if we volt into volt divided by volt ampere, so these volt and volt should be eliminated. This volt and this volt should be eliminated. So the unit finally will be left volt divided by ampere. So the unit is ohm. So finally we will get the base value of impedance. So the Z base should be the voltage base square divided by power base. So this is the voltage base square divided by power base, and that should be the value of Z base. And now if we want to calculate this in if we want to calculate this in unit format, then that is the voltage into volt divided by volt ampere. So volt should be eliminated. Finally, volt per ampere, that is ohm. So this format is actually given here.